16th century India functioned through a strictly hierarchical social order. The highest philosophical rituals and access to the divine were reserved exclusively for the Brahmin orthodoxy, creating a society where spiritual practice was defined more by birthright than by devotion. Intellectual life was equally rigid. For centuries, scholars had been paralyzed by a deadlock over the Vedanta. One school insisted that God was merely a formless, impersonal energy, while their opponents argued that the Supreme was an entirely separate entity, forever distant from humanity. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu emerged as a figure who could navigate both worlds. A brilliant scholar in his youth, he eventually shifted his focus away from academic debate and toward a direct mystical experience of the divine. Within the Gaudiya tradition, Caitanya is identified as a unique, combined avatar. He is understood to be the Supreme Lord, Krishna, appearing in the emotional mood of his own greatest devotee, Radha, to experience the intensity of her love for him from the inside. He was accompanied by 4 key associates, together known as the Pancha Tattva. These 5 figures worked in unison to introduce a framework for devotion that sought to reconcile the conflicting philosophies of the past. Caitanya centered his mission on the awakening of prema bhakti, an ecstatic, unalloyed love of God. He presented this emotional state as the ultimate human perfection, viewing it as a far more significant achievement than simple liberation from the material cycle. At the center of Caitanya's system is the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. This translates to the inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and difference between the Supreme Person and his energies. Like the sun and its rays, God is a distinct body, yet his energy permeates everywhere. Every soul is a single spark, qualitatively identical, quantitatively infinitesimal. This allows God to be omnipresent through his energy while maintaining a distinct personal identity. Under this framework, the soul is neither a separate, lonely entity nor a drop of water lost in an impersonal ocean. Instead, every living being is an eternal, interconnected part of the Supreme. Sri Caitanya personally composed only 8 verses, the Shikshashtakam, which contained the distilled essence of his teachings. To ensure his philosophy survived, he tasked his primary disciples with a massive project of codification. He sent 6 of his most advanced followers, known as the 6 Goswamis, to the town of Vrindavan. Their mission was to provide a rigorous, written foundation for the movement. Their first task was restorative. The Goswamis worked to physically identify and excavate the ancient sites, where Krishna's pastimes were recorded in scripture, essentially reclaiming the physical landscape of the tradition. Their second task was the creation of a vast library of Sanskrit texts. They meticulously mapped out the metaphysics, ontology, and the complex emotional theory of rasa, giving the tradition a logical structure that could be studied and debated for centuries. These manuscripts became the permanent blueprints for Gaudiya Vaishnavism, preserving the intricate details of Caitanya's theology for future generations. However, Caitanya believed that this theology was only useful if it was lived. He sought a way for these complex intellectual truths to be experienced by anyone, regardless of their education. The practical expression of this philosophy was Sankirtana, the congregational chanting of the holy names. It was designed to turn the abstract concept of God into a tangible, shared experience. Because Caitanya taught that the name of God is non-different from God himself, the act of chanting was viewed as a direct, physical association with the divine. The mantra was not just a prayer, it was the presence of the Supreme. This practice fundamentally changed how spirituality functioned in Bengal. Caitanya and his followers took these Vedic truths out of the private temples and into the public streets, chanting with anyone who would join them. By combining public chanting with the distribution of sanctified food, prasad, the movement bypassed the orthodox caste system. It created a space where the Brahmin and the laborer stood on equal spiritual footing. Sankirtana effectively democratized the spiritual life of India. It transformed the pursuit of the divine from an exclusive ritual into a public, accessible path available to everyone. Following a period of historical decline, the movement saw a significant 19th century renaissance. This was led by Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, a scholar who used modern communication to revitalize the tradition during the era of British India. The modern era of the lineage began with A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In 1965, he arrived in the United States, carrying with him the mandate to share the tradition's literature and its practice of chanting with the English-speaking world. This marked a highly significant cultural shift. An ancient Eastern philosophical conclusion was suddenly being practiced on the streets of modern Western cities like New York and San Francisco. Within a few years, Sankirtana was being performed across dozens of different cultures. The practice demonstrated that the desire for a direct emotional connection to the divine could transcend national and linguistic boundaries. Today, Gaudiya Vaishnavism remains a tradition where a rigorous philosophical system and intense emotional practice meet. It offers a path where the deepest intellectual inquiries into the nature of the soul are expressed through the movement of the body and the taste of the heart.